Robert, take me back to the beginning. You come from a blue collar background, and you were the first to receive your college degree. So, what motivated you to be the first to receive a college degree?
I had really hardworking parents. In this moment, I'll identify my dad primarily. He worked really hard, and I never felt like he was fully appreciated for the hard work he put in. And so I definitely learned how to work ethic came from him, but I knew he was sort of limited in some of his options, and I knew there was a different path for me to take. I also worked at the cement company that he worked at for years and years, so that was just like digging dirt in underground where there's like sand pits and rock pits. So I kind of learned how to work, but I knew I wanted to take a different life strategy and path than he did.
Yeah. So, and I want to dig into kind of, some of those ethos that your father kind of passed on to you in a moment, but so before we even get into that, so what motivated you in particular to go to law school?
When I graduated from Cal Poly, I had a finance degree. I always thought I would be like a financial planner or kind of run my own financial planning business. Based on my background, I really was never exposed to people that were like a doctor or a lawyer. Like as a kid, I might have known like one person in the community that was an attorney. So it wasn't really something I was exposed to. But a little bit after school, I made a really great friend who's an attorney and still a friend to this day that like 2 weeks into our friendship, he's like, "What are you doing? Like, you should be a lawyer." And I'm like, I should be a lawyer. And that was it. I literally went and got LSAT books, took the LSAT, and I was within 4 months, I was in law school. And I knew he was a personal injury attorney, a younger personal injury attorney. So I sort of, as soon as that path became aware, as soon as I was aware of that path, it was like, that's it. And I've never really thought about it since, other than being thankful that I was made that friend and was exposed to this as an opportunity.
Yeah, that's amazing how kind of your journey, you get pulled in these different directions, and that's awesome. And I kind of want to go back to, on your website, it says that your firm's client-centric focus comes from your father and his ethos of treating customers like family. So what was about, your father's way of business that was attractive to you that you really wanted to pass on and uphold for your firm?
This would be a couple of simple examples would be just how he generally treated people. So when we were kids, back when you used to like go into the bank to get money, or maybe he was depositing his check or something, like when we'd go in there, like 4 of the tellers he'd know all of them by name. He'd be talking to them. And I just sort of saw how he interacted with people. And then this is sort of a funny one, but like, he always kept a cooler of like drinks in his truck. And so it would be awesome when he got home, it would be like, yes, we get a Coke finally. But what he was doing is he would just go from job site to job site, but he'd always like have something for everybody, not just whoever the project manager is, but like everybody involved. And so that's just like a little example of the way he would just sort of care a little bit more and like do a little bit extra, and people would just remember those things. Like people would be like, "Oh, there's your dad. He always brings whatever," or gave me this cool jacket, whatever the case might be. I kind of always picked up on that. And I try to do the same thing, not just with clients, but even just in how my normal life. I mean, my kids always joke that if they go to the gas station with me, it's going to take 10 minutes because I talked to the gas station guy.
It's awesome though.
So it's just like the way it is.
That's really interesting. So that's like the Dale Carnegie. Everyone knows the first name, the How to Win Friends and Influence People. But yeah, and I think there's something powerful with that, because I know when I meet an individual and they call me by my first name, then it like, I don't know, it like immediately gets my attention. And so I
For
like
sure, they cared about you a little more than somebody else did who just is like, "What's up, boss? How's it going, man?" It's like, all those
Yeah.
little things, like, um, yeah, we're all sort of, if someone does it to me, I feel if you call me and go, "Hey, Rob," instead of Mr. May, because you know me or you know a little bit more about me, like, yeah, I take it as like a compliment. And I'm probably more open to you because I feel like you're more open to me.
Yeah, that's a great point there. So let's talk about implementing some of those at the firm. So, what are some of those things that you do to try to, treat clients like family, and what do you do differently that from other law firms, maybe to make them feel comfortable in the environment they're in, where maybe they just, had a serious accident or something really terrible occur?
Um, it probably comes down to, like culture and sort of what the vibe, the energy the client's going to get is probably the same energy that's in your office when the clients aren't there. And um, from our perspective, it's like I'm the way I am all the time at work or at home, meaning I want people to be their best, to be to be supported and be able to like accomplish everything they're capable of accomplishing. And I want to push them just like I want to push myself in all the different ways I try to do things a little bit better each day. But I don't want it to be like a fear-based motivation. I mean, I probably am a little fear-based because I want the client to have a great result. I want the employee to feel supported in all these different relationships that I have. But the people around me, I don't want them to live and like work under fear. I've been in that experience personally, and it just like takes a lot out of you when you're worried about just disappointing the person that's above you in whatever capacity that is.
So would you say it's like a more open environment? And do you really look for, I know you have family that works with you, and we'll
Yeah.
dive in. I got some questions about Garrett in a moment, but so is it like, do you really look for those values? Do you believe in core values? Some people do, some people don't.
Yeah. So it's funny you say that. I feel like I sometimes thought they were a little cliche, like when people would come up with core values, and I've kind of changed my tune on that. I think it's because sometimes you, like Chris, might have a set of core values, but if you're not communicating them and like exposing the people around you to like what you really truly believe and like what's really important to you, they might know like Chris is awesome at his job. He's informed. He treats people around him really well, but they might not know that these are like really significant. Like it's critically important to how you live your life. And so I've kind of done a little bit of a 180 on that. And even we've taken our core values and written them down and talked about them at the office, and they're a component of some of the ways we recognize great work at our offices with on Slack with like hashtags, and our core values are hashtags. When we see somebody like learn about something they didn't know about, bring it back to the office and say, "Hey, I just learned this. I just saw this. We should start doing this. This is a change we can make." Or in somebody just goes way above and beyond for a client, like that's one of our core values. And it's sort of like, I thought it would be gimmicky and people would maybe think like, oh, he's just trying to do something business people do or something like that. And that's not the approach. I didn't come at it with that approach. It was a sincere effort. It took a long time for us to really, for me at least, to like put them down. But it's something that's really, I think, sort of like been a cohesive factor for our office.
I
And now
really
it's like
like.
they're going up in artwork and they're going to go in the office, and they'll be on the walls in each one of our buildings. It's like a reminder. And like I like having one of them is just talk with a smile, because for me, I might be feeling good on the inside, but if I'm just trying to get through our conversation, or I'm multitasking or whatever, like the energy you get might be like, oh, he's not into this, and that's not what I'm actually feeling. And so that would be an example of a core value for us.
I think that's an amazing core value. That's something I haven't heard, but it's so true. when you write an email or you're doing even a message on Slack, people may interpret things differently because they can't see you versus jumping on Zoom and they can read your body language, kind of maybe interpret it a little bit differently.
Totally.
And, I wasn't going to go to the technology route, but you kind of forced my hand here because you're talking about Slack. So, what kind of technology and tools do you find really effective at your firm? What are you using for a CRM or case intake? And you mentioned Slack. So, what are some of those tools that really have a big impact?
So we use, for our case management, we use Filevine, which has a texting feature. I mean, it has a massive amount of capabilities to it. And our office manager is she's like the CEO of Slack at our office, meaning she's the one who is always learning the newest updates and then rolling them out. We use Podium for texting, like individual clients, new clients, people that are on board. So we can, like our main office numbers, we can text from and receive information from. So, obviously we use we use GetAccept for electronic signatures, which we used to use DocuSign. We changed to GetAccept. It was just visually, I thought, a little more interactive. You can attach videos, you can personalize it a little more. And I thought it just had a little bit more of a personal touch, and the way things are going, not just with COVID, but just sort of generally with technology, it's you're trying to find ways to still connect with people this podcast is a perfect example.
Yeah.
You're trying to find a way to really connect with people, even though I'm not in your office with you. We're not, you didn't say, what kind of coffee do you want? And, but you're really trying to find a way to connect with people even at a distance. So those are some of the ways we do it. We use voice over IP phones that, we've been using for a long time, but it was really helpful. So when COVID came, everyone had to go work from home. They were able to basically just take their office phone and an adapter, and they were, we didn't really have any downtime as far as those things went.
Yeah, I really like that because, you had your technology already kind of set up for this, and Slack's really, of course,
Slack's
awesome.
It's
just perfect. Yeah, it's just perfect for the communication component and, introducing some personality with the GIFs or the emojis or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, and all that stuff, I think sometimes maybe from my perspective, or things potentially I think I undervalued maybe years ago. And I really enjoy it. So we have Slack channels that are literally podcasts you're into, movies you watched. What vitamin D do you guys? Everyone's taking vitamin D, vitamin C.
Right.
We're all trying to stay healthy, and so it's fun to get to share all these. I'm addicted to consuming information and just stuff people are learning and doing. So I like having a place to go, hey, check this out. And then someone says that was great. I also found this. So it's a way for us, because our office is a little bit segmented because we have offices in different cities. It's not 30 people in one building. It's people that are segmented in different offices. And so it's been a good way for us to bring on new people. Not just bring on new people, but stay connected with everybody, even when we're apart. We've been doing Zoom meetings for a few years now at our office, and so we kind of were already a little bit familiar with the technology, and we're ready to go.
Yeah, and that's so. Just one other follow up. I first of all, I really love the specific channels on the different type of interest, because we made a channel just called Lounge, and it used to be called Water Cooler, but I changed it to the Lounge because every time I think of water cooler, you automatically think of gossiping.
I was just going to say gossip. Too much gossip.
Yeah. And I wanted it to be more friendly, conversation, not gossiping. So that's why we called it that. But I like the idea of the different channels for different interests and things like that. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then people, I could probably open up Slack and give you a few more, but they're actually used, and good information comes from, and they're fun, and you work with people and they all have their personal lives too. And I enjoy what do I like to do when I'm not at work? Not when, not attorney Rob. I'm what kind of things. So I like sharing that with the office. So sometimes it's just somebody got married last week and they were showing me the photos. I'm like, put these on Slack. Like
Yeah.
everybody that works at the office is like dying to see these pictures. And so just a little example of ways we're trying to like, it's not really trying to do it. It's more like you more find out that this is an option more than really trying to force something. Like, this is great. Like, let's stay more connected. So sometimes it's just food recommendations when people are traveling. There's a lot of people want to go somewhere with messages that go out, go eat here. There's a ton of foodies at the office. So that'd be another example.
Yeah, I love that. So it kind of builds a rapport digitally because you get to know about people's lives, where people maybe dialed in at work and don't really, share that, but it's kind of nice with the Slack. You can do that in a little bit less, it's at people's leisure. They can kind of check and have those conversations when they want.
100%. And, you learn funny things about me. You'll find out like, I didn't know that guy was into hunting. Like,
right.
Wouldn't have guessed that in a billion years. Like,
yeah.
Crossed it. Like, right on. Like, all just the different things people do that you're like, I wouldn't have guessed that off the bat.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Like
so there's a couple things that you said about personalization. I like the switch from DocuSign because you said it had a little bit more personalization. And you've got your Slack. You mentioned Zoom and kind of this ethos, these values that you try to have at the office. But I've got a question here. So, what is kind of the compromise between efficiency and like those personalizations and bespoke and doing things a little different? Every firm has maybe their standard operating procedures of how you do X. Where's the line? Where do you introduce those personalizations?
So that's a really good question. So where we introduce them is we kind of roll, like it depends on, I guess, on what it is. So if it's something that's sort of client-based, we usually roll them out on ourselves first. Like, hey, what's this feel like for you? Because my intended effect might be felt differently as a recipient. So a lot of times it's really just rolling them out with, Caroline, our case manager, or Garrett, or Cameron. I might say, you do whatever the process might be. It could be, like a new client document. Just like, is this too much if there's a video saying like, hey, we're happy you're here at the firm. I'm Rob. You're going to be meeting this person and this person, their team. They're going to be at least walking you through the beginning steps of your case. Is that like weird and over? Yeah, I'm generally a little more private by nature. So it's like, sometimes I'm like, is that weird? Or is it like, no, it's nice. It's nice to, okay, thanks this is just a little extra something that I don't know. Sometimes I think it works and it's sincere. And so sometimes I should probably get over my insecurities and be like, yeah, this is a good thing.
Well, I think
that'd be an example.
Yeah, I love that. So you kind of look at it internally, and then first of all, I like the different mediums of communication and setting the expectations. That way you don't turn those clients into crazy clients later because you set the expectations up front.
Yes. Those are things you do at the beginning, the first 2 years of your law practice, and you're like, at a baseball game, like taking a phone call, like, good job, buddy. Can I please call you back? So you kind of learn. Some of it's boundaries and some of it's just a matter of like growing and having a really great team that can help you out when you're not in the moment available to, if every question at your firm you had to answer, like you wouldn't be able to you wouldn't even be able to provide the kind of service you actually want to provide for people if you had to answer every email and every question. Like, that's probably the great skill set you have is in search engine optimization, staying up to date on, like, you can't do all the things you're trying to do. Like, I can't stay up to speed on, hey, there's a new appellate ruling if I'm just answering questions somebody else is fully capable of answering.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And because everyone has so much time and everyone has a different level of expertise and people like to do different things and it brings them energy and it doesn't bring other people energy.
Super true.
Yeah. And that's kind of transitioning. So, a lot of attorneys graduate and they go to work for family, and there are a lot of attorneys that will start a practice with a colleague, but you decided to start it with your two brothers, so diving in there. So how do you kind of divide responsibilities? How does that kind of work in terms of working with it?
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. It works. It's sort of always evolving. In the last couple of years, some of our conversations are like, man, it's not just the three of us anymore. Like, we have to do things a little bit. Things have to be done a little bit different. Like, we have to delegate. By virtue of the three of us starting a practice with a few cases, you have a really specific way of handling it, and learning how to scale that was difficult. But generally how it works is Garrett really manages the litigation department. Cameron really helps manage the pre-litigation department, pre-litigation being like cases that haven't been filed yet. And then I sort of manage the rest, all of it.
Got it.
That's the general sort of overall kind of how it works. And then we're all kind of trying to bring in new ideas. And, I probably spend more time trying to find out what other people I really respect are doing, and like good ideas they have, and see if those are things we can bring into our office. Sometimes the two of them are probably so busy just day to day with court hearings, depositions, trials, etc., that that's sort of more my role at our office.
Well, that's awesome that you have individuals that you can trust with their department, their skills. And you mentioned a couple things on values and taking ideas from other businesses and firms. Do you have coaching that you receive? Do you use like a business framework? Tell me a little bit about how your business has continually improved to get to kind of where the point you're at now with multiple offices and the growth trajectory you've been on.
Yes, I personally, not just me and multiple members in the staff, we do business coaching. And it's one of those things you think like, oh, is this worth it? And it could, I guess, be a waste of time and resources, but for us, it's actually been really valuable. Just little things I shouldn't say little things, like some of the things recently, in the last year, I feel like our hiring process is 100% better, no doubt, in that how we put out the ad for the position, how we screen for who we interview, how we do all these things. And it's ended up saving us a lot of time. And, in the last 6 months, we've hired another 4 people. Like, it's like 4 for 4, like awesome people that like just incredible. And I don't know if a year and a half or 2 years, well, let's say 2 years ago, like, I don't know if we would have found those people, or maybe hired somebody else feeling a little bit like, oh, this like a good enough attitude versus a like excellence attitude. And so some of that is just some of that's been the benefit of the coaching that we have done.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So let's break that down a little bit on the hiring, because I think that's really interesting. And I think it's one of the most critical components, because at the end of the day, when you start scaling, you can use technology, you can have, amazing efficiencies and keep it simple. But at the end of the day, you got to have more bodies. You just need more bodies, more utilization. So, what were just a couple of those things that really improved your hiring process?
A couple of things I'm trying to remember the name of the software we use, but one of the things we started doing is just if you wanted to respond to our ad, we had a dedicated phone line just for that position. And you have to follow there might be 3 instructions in there that you have to follow specifically just to get your resume into our office. So I know if it came in, you've done these 4 steps. So it kind of just weeds out, one, just the amount of resumes that are like, there are people that somebody might want a job, but they don't want to be a paralegal at the May firm. And it really sort of trimmed down the amount of resumes we received. And then what we would do is we put together, we had like a video platform where we would ask 5 questions, and they had to be you couldn't like record it and upload it later. Like you had to answer the questions live time, and we could just review all the answers you gave and, effectively give it a score and go, and it would be pretty easy to go like, awesome person, probably not a great fit for our office. And then others were like, this person's like, I wouldn't have thought this person, we just hired some young guy named Matt, no personal injury experience whatsoever. Like 3 months in, he's incredible. But so if I just got his resume, I might say no. And if somebody else in the office had interviewed him and said, well, he doesn't have an experience, like my first thought would be like, oh no, I don't want to deal with it. Like,
Right.
No, I don't want to deal with it. But we had this channel where it wasn't just me seeing it, it was multiple people in the office. So I'm like, dude, who is this guy? Like, I kind of like him. Like, I think he'd get it. And like, he's got it. So, and then the backup is you pair him with somebody that's incredible that I know is going to be a good, like that I feel comfortable saying is like, it's going to be a good, personality fit with him. So he gets a mentor that's going to be a good personality. Like it's going to be a vibe I think that's going to work. And like in a matter of months, it's like you almost have doubled the output of this person that's really great, that's been with your office for a few years, because she has somebody that she can teach to do some of the things that maybe take up a lot of time in her day. So you're kind of you're getting a ton of value to the client. The client's getting great service, and I'm not spending a year training somebody going like, they're not getting it. Like this isn't working. So that'd be an example. I probably went on too long there.
Yeah. So is that tool a Spark Hire?
Spark, yes. Yeah.
We started using that. We started using that ourselves, and I think Cameron Harold from the 1-800, former CEO of 1-800-GOT-JUNK, he mentioned it a few years ago. And myself, when I interview a lot of people, they all just, even if I take notes, they all start to blur together, and I forget who is who and if I really like someone, and that's why I just love Spark Hire.
I'll also start feeling bad, like they've interviewed, like almost like it's like maybe we should offer him a job. Like I'll feel bad not extending a job offer. So like, it's a good way for me to be more objective and less sort of like emotionally like willing to sort of say like, no, maybe, you start rationalizing. Yeah. They'll get it. I think they'll get it. And so it's better for me if I have a little distance from it and I'm more objective. My own biases sort of don't play in quite as much.
Yeah.
Bias being like, I feel bad for this person, which is good for my job, because I do feel like it does give you like probably more empathetic by nature, but it might not be the best with hiring.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And I even we put a question in there that's kind of like a fast fail to save us time. Like I instantly go to that question. I'm like, if they don't get this one right, they're probably not the right fit.
This could never work.
Yeah. Yeah. So I really love that tool, Spark Hire.
So that's been awesome for us. And, a few others, but like that would be in the last year. That's like a new tool we use. That's like, this is really helpful. Like we should have done this a while ago.
Awesome. Let's talk about, let's kind of shift over to like operations. Do you guys, is it more of a traditional hierarchy where, maybe the attorney gets a paralegal or is it more of a pod where you have like a team? Kind of how are you guys most efficiently, serving the client?
Well, in the more of a team approach, we didn't used to have a team approach. It used to be like one person is like, it depends on which department in the office. For purposes of this, I'll just start with like pre-litigation. We've moved to like a team model where you have two people together, because it was a way for us to scale up and bring new people in that we knew would get like one-to-one like assistance, like with operations without sort of, I can't send somebody who's 80% there and just give them 30 clients
right
to deal with, because they're going to mess something like it's not good enough like to the client. So we've moved to like a team system, and it makes it just better. If somebody's out of the office, there's like two people that 100% know the case backward and forward. And so, I can go into the case if it's something I'm not familiar with. If I get a call in the moment, I can pretty quickly get up to speed. There's somebody there to answer a question, and then I can kind of fill in and, make a call, send an email, do whatever needs to be done on the day-to-day basis. And then our litigation, it's a little more of a team approach, is how we've structured. That's always been the same structure. So we don't really do like a one-to-one paralegal attorney.
Got it.
Paralegals have different assignments. So like discovery we kind of have broken down the different components of a litigation case with different people. So they really sort of specialize in just doing specific tasks in the litigation process.
Nice. I like that. And I like kind of the senior attorney and junior, kind of that mentorship, and they get kind of basically indoctrinated and they get kind of that whole feel of the right way to do things. And there's a little bit of quality checks there too. I love that.
Yeah. So if you just let someone go out on their own, and I mean, there's value to it with the right person, you're like, oh, they're doing incredible, but not everyone's going to be, some people might just not feel comfortable being 100% on their own. And I'm not really totally comfortable just letting people just fly.
Understood. With that abdicated.
You feel the same way. Like, well, no, I'd like to keep an eye on everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of switching over to personal. So, your family has roots set in the Central California coast. What is it about this area that you love?
Well, I think as a kid, I don't know if I loved it as much. It was pretty sort of like I don't know, it felt pretty small, but after college, I went to Cal Poly, which is in San Luis Obispo, and that's where I live now with my family. And then I came back here like 8 years ago, but I was down in San Diego for about 10 years. And so I really enjoyed being in San Diego as well. It's an incredible place. But what I really like about it, I like being able to drive to the office in 10 minutes. I like being able to park. I like the school systems. I like being able to go outside and hike. I like that it's a pretty awesome place. It's not super crowded, so it's not the best for personal injury work. It's a great place to live, but that's sort of how we ended up segmenting our office, because I lived in Fresno for a few years, so we opened an office there because I had relationships there. I was down in San Diego, so we have offices down there, and sort of connected all of them together. And so at the moment, I don't do as much traveling sort of to all the offices as much, but usually I'll be like kind of going up and back and forth to all the offices.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I love it's a nice place to live.
I was trying to get you to go the surfing route. So,
sorry.
You're a keen surfer. So what's some of the best waves you've ridden?
Definitely in Indonesia.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm up to we have 4 kids now. So I've kind of reached a point where, for me, at least at this point in life, like surfing just feels a little too selfish. We went, me and my surf friends, we went on our surf buddies, we went to Mexico about a year and a half ago for a surf trip. So now surfing is more like surf trips, but the best surf trips I've ever done were we do 2-week boat trips in Indonesia. So I've done that 4 times.
Nice.
100% the best experience. El Salvador and Peru and Mexico. So we've done quite a bit of surf related travel, and now kids are doing sports and all those kind of things.
Hard to get away.
It's hard to really justify a 2-week dude surf trip.
Right.
For me at this point.
As we come up to for our closing segment, we do a 3 for 3. It's just kind of a quick fire round here. It's 3 questions, 3 minutes. So so first, which entrepreneur do you admire the most?
So my answer today is Ben Hogan, the golfer. And Ben Hogan I just read his biography maybe a couple months ago, and I was just blown away by this guy who came from nothing, had really some tragic experiences in his childhood, and he worked so hard to become Ben Hogan, the golfer. But in the middle of his career, at like the peak of his power, so to speak, he suffered this like debilitating injury. He was in an awful car accident. Anyway, came back to win like majors, and then started his own golf brand afterwards, and like he ran it like in a really specific way. He grew the brand. He had the best product. He like cared about it. It wasn't like a licensing deal for him in the slightest. And recently, anyway, it's probably because I've gotten into golf more in the last year. I was like, I was just so like, I don't know. I would totally recommend. He's really powerful, like incredible guy.
Amazing. I'll have to check that out. And, so what business book do you recommend the most?
Gosh, I don't know offhand what business book I recommend. I just started one, but sadly I can't even remember the name of it as we sit here right now. Sitting on my desk, getting ready to get started on.
Yeah, no problem. So,
I honestly I feel like when I was younger, I read more business books. I feel like now I try to find people I really like look up to, and that could be getting to know another attorney in California who I think like, wow, this person's doing something awesome. Like, I'm going to reach out to him and just ask a couple questions. Or somebody I really admire, you start golfing a year ago and you're like learning golf history. It's like, I want to learn more about Ben Hogan. You're like, you could take a ton from all these people that do different things than you. So a lot of times I'm really just focused on like stories and people I'm most interested in. And like Ron Chernow's biographies are like, they're unbelievable. Like Grant and Washington, things like that. I probably more gravitate to those.
That's incredible. And I love that as well. And then final question here. So what's the next thing on your bucket list?
Oh, I want to shoot I would like to shoot under 80 this year.
Nice.
Yeah.
Get away from
that's on my list.
I think I'm a double bogey or triple bogey golfer. So
yeah,
shooting under 80 sounds pretty amazing.
So, well, I'm not a great golfer. I just started like a year ago, but yeah, I don't know, that's technically a bucket list, but for me, that feels like that's the thing in my mind that like outside of work that I'm like really, really, really care about. And going on golf trips, like we just went to Oregon to a place called Bandon Dunes. Like,
nice.
It's incredible.
Amazing.
So, golf trips are kind of like I said earlier, kind of replace the surf trip.
Absolutely. And I'm trying to get more into golf myself. And
there you go.
Yeah. So Robert, thanks so much for coming on the show. Where can our audience go to learn more about you?
Oh, our law firm is the May Firm. You can go to the mayfirm.com, and Instagram at the May Firm.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Robert.
Thanks for having me on. It was really nice to see you today, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right on.